The first thing
Learn your
Nia
place.
Carter noticed was a pause, like the whole station held its breath for someone else to decide what she was allowed to be.
What's going on
Union
here?
Station was loud
Everything
with
is
wheels
fine,
and
officer.
announcements,
Just recording
but
for
the
safety.
man's voice cut through it like a blade. "Hey, you, put that away." Nia turned, coffee warming her palms, tote strap across her wrist. The stranger stood by the information desk, clean-cut, confident, phone already raised. He didn't look at her face so much as the space around her, as if he owned it. "I'm sorry," Nia asked. "You can't panhandle in here," he said, loud enough to gather witnesses. "It's embarrassing." The word hit her first, panhandle. Then the assumption underneath it, heavy and familiar. Tessa, her friend, started to speak, but Nia stopped her with a glance. She'd worked too hard for today's meeting to let a stranger steal her calm. "I'm not asking anyone for money," Nia said. "I'm here for a transit authority appointment." The man smiled without warmth. "Sure, and I'm the mayor." A security guard nearby looked over, then away. A mother tugged her child closer. Faces slid into that practiced neutrality that always felt like betrayal. The stranger angled his phone at Nia. "Go ahead," he murmured, almost pleased. "Show them how you people act." Nia felt the room tilt. Camera, crowd, the thin line between being a citizen and being a suspect. Across the hall, the conference room door cracked open, her contacts scanning for her. Behind her, the guard's radio clicked, and the stranger leaned in and whispered, "Learn your place." Nia's breath caught, because the guard stepped toward her, not him. Union Station churned with Saturday traffic, heels, rolling suitcases, clipped announcements. Nia Carter kept her shoulders loose. In crowds, posture could be permission or punishment. 2 minutes, her friend Tessa Reed said, jogging up with coffee. "Tell me you didn't buy another planner." Nia took the cup. "I did. Don't judge." "I respect the hustle," Tessa said. "Where's your meeting?" "Main hall. Transit authority," Nia said, tapping her tote. Inside were flyers for her community art workshops, a clipboard and the pitch, a mural program. Kids painting their neighborhoods into color. Nia had rehearsed a pitch on the train. Partnerships, safety, community beautification in the language officials liked. What she meant was simpler. Kids who'd been told their blocks were ugly deserved to paint something worth looking at. The Transit Authority's small arts grant could cover supplies for a year. It could keep her studio afloat, keep the landlord from sliding another final notice under her door, keep her from calling her mother in Baltimore to borrow money again. "You're going to be amazing," Tessa said, bumping her shoulder. "Just say the thing you always say." Nia smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. "Art is proof we were here. And that we're not leaving," Tessa added. Nia nodded, feeling the weight of every no she'd swallowed, rooms where she'd been thanked and then ignored. Today had to be different. They crossed the marble floor. A saxophonist threaded blues through the noise. For a breath, Nia felt ordinary. Then a voice cut clean through the hall. "Hey, you!" Nia turned. A white man in a gray quarter zip stood near the information desk. Phone up like a badge. Mid-40s. Smirk ready. He looked past Tessa and fixed on Nia. "You can't panhandle in here." Nia stared. "Excuse me?" "I said you can't solicit." "It's disgusting," he said, nodding at her tote. "People come here to travel, not get harassed." Tessa stepped in. "She's not." Nia lifted a hand. Her stomach tightened with the old, bitter familiarity of being read on sight. "Sir, I'm not asking anyone for money." He smiled, quick and cold. "Sure, that's what they all say." "They," Nia repeated. The word landed like a slap. A few heads turned. A security guard by a pillar glanced over, then away. "I'm here for a meeting," Nia said, voice even. "I'm an artist. I run workshops for kids." The man's eyes scanned her like a searchlight. "Right, and I'm the mayor." Tessa's laugh came out sharp. "Do you hear yourself?" The man raised his phone higher. "I'm recording, so when you start yelling, we'll have proof." The room tilted. A camera always did that, turning breath into evidence. Nia looked around. A woman with a stroller stared at the floor. 2 teens watched, fascinated and uneasy. "Nia," Tessa whispered. "Don't." Nia tasted coffee turned to rust. Walking away wouldn't stop him from doing this to the next black woman, with a tote bag and a purpose. "I'm not yelling," Nia said. "I'm asking you to stop harassing me." His smile widened. "Harassing? You people play the victim like it's a sport." Tessa's voice snapped. "That's enough." He flicked his gaze to Tessa, like she was a fly. "Not you. I'm talking to her." A security guard finally approached, slow, hands clasped in front. "Everything okay?" the guard asked, eyes on Nia first. Nia held his gaze. "This man is accusing me of panhandling and recording me. I'm trying to get to my meeting." The guard's brow pinched. "Ma'am, are you soliciting?" Tessa let out a short, shocked sound. "Seriously?" Nia swallowed. "No." The man lifted his phone. "See? I'm just trying to keep the place safe." Safe for whom? Nia thought. Always safe for whom? The guard's voice softened into instruction. "Maybe step aside while we sort this out." Step aside. Away from the flow, away from witnesses, away from her meeting. Nia felt anger pressed behind her ribs, hot and contained. "I'm calm," she said, "but I'm not stepping aside like I did something wrong." The guard's jaw tightened. "Ma'am." A flash of movement. Someone else had raised the phone. Nia turned and saw a young black woman near the kiosk, filming with steady hands. "You got that?" the woman called. The man's smirk cracked. "Don't film me." The woman walked closer. "If he can record her, I can record him." The guard looked between them, suddenly aware of the crowd's attention. Nia's hand shook just enough that she set her coffee on a ledge before anyone could mistake trembling for guilt. Overhead, the announcement boomed. Track change. All passengers. And the man, still recording, said the line that froze the station around her. "Tell your kind to learn your place." Nia's breath caught. Across the hall, the conference room door swung open, Ms. Delgado scanning for her. Nia stood between the insult and the doorway, between the life she was building and the world insisting she didn't deserve it. The guard reached for his radio. Nia couldn't tell if he was calling for help or for backup. The guard's hand hovered over his radio, like a question he already knew how to answer. "Ma'am," he said again, softer now, which somehow felt worse. "Let's just step over here so we can talk." Nia glanced toward the conference room. Ms. Delgado stood in the doorway with a clipboard pressed to her chest, eyes flicking between the guard, the stranger, and Nia's face. Their eyes met, recognition, maybe sympathy. Then Ms. Delgado's gaze slid away, already calculating schedules and consequences. "I have a meeting," Nia said. She kept her voice level, even as heat climbed her neck. "I'm expected." The stranger let out a small laugh. "If you're late, that's on you. This didn't have to be a thing." Tessa took a step forward. "You made it a thing." The guard angled his body between Nia and the flow of foot traffic, subtle but firm. "Ma'am, it'll be quick." Quick. That word had a history. Quick meant missing trains, missing deadlines, missing chances that never rescheduled themselves for people like her. "I didn't do anything," Nia said. "I'm not saying you did," the guard replied, eyes still on her. "We just need to clear this up." Behind him, the stranger lowered his phone slightly, satisfied. He had learned this part well, how authority leaned without being asked. The young woman filming spoke up. "Why isn't he stepping aside? He's the one who started it." The guard glanced at her, then back to Nia. "Ma'am, please." Nia felt the room closing in, not with noise, but with expectation. The unspoken rule pressed down on her shoulders. Comply or become the story they already wanted to tell. She looked at Tessa. Tessa's jaw was tight, eyes bright with anger. "Nia," she said quietly, "we can fight this later." Later. Always later. Nia exhaled and nodded once. "Fine, but I'm not turning off my phone." She started recording as she stepped to the side. The guard guided her a few feet away, just far enough that the conference room door slipped out of her peripheral vision. The stranger followed, uninvited. "I just want to make sure everyone's safe," he said, voice smooth again. "Safe from what?" Nia asked. He shrugged. "Panhandlers. Aggressive behavior." "That's not what happened," the young woman filming said. "You told her to learn her place." The stranger's smile flickered. "She's mistaken." Nia laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. You said it clearly. The guard cleared his throat. Sir, if you could give us some space. I'm the one who reported it. The man cut in. I should stay. Reported it. Like a broken bench. Like a spill on the floor. The guard hesitated, then nodded. Okay. Nia felt something sink in her chest. Even now, even with witnesses, his word carried weight hers didn't. What's your name? The guard asked her. Nia Carter. ID. For what? Tessa demanded. She's not under arrest. The guard held up a hand. Routine. Nia reached into her tote, hand steady through force of will, and passed over her driver's license. The guard examined it longer than necessary. Occupation? He asked. I run a nonprofit arts program, Nia said. I'm meeting with the Transit Authority about a mural project. The stranger snorted. Of course you are. Nia turned to him. Why are you still here? He met her eyes, unbothered. Because I belong here. The words landed with the quiet certainty of someone who'd never had to prove it. The guard's radio crackled. Copy. A voice said, distant and impersonal. Nia, Ms. Delgado called, tentative. She'd stepped closer now, hovering at the edge of the group. We can reschedule. Reschedule. The word echoed louder than the station announcements. I'm right here, Nia said. We can walk together. Ms. Delgado hesitated, eyes flicking to the guard. It might be better if we regroup later. Better for whom? Nia wanted to ask. Better for the department. Better for the man, smiling like this was already over. The guard handed Nia's ID back. You're free to go, he said. Just be mindful of station rules. What rules did I break? Nia asked. He didn't answer. The stranger slipped his phone into his pocket. See, he said, satisfied. No harm done. Nia's laugh came out hollow. You almost cost me my meeting. You did that yourself, he replied. All you had to do was cooperate. Tessa stepped between them. Don't talk to her. The stranger's gaze slid over Tessa, dismissive. Emotions make things messy. The young woman filming shook her head. You really think this is over? He glanced at her camera, then back at Nia. People forget. Nia watched Ms. Delgado retreat toward the conference room, the door closing with a soft, definitive click. The meeting was gone, the chance with it. Something inside Nia hardened, not into rage, but into resolve. She looked at the stranger. What's your name? He smiled, slow and confident. Why? So I know who to thank, she said. For what? For showing me exactly how this works. The guard shifted, uncomfortable. Ma'am, I think it's best if everyone moves along. Nia nodded. She turned away from the conference room and walked, not because she'd been dismissed, but because she was choosing her next step. Behind her, the stranger's voice followed, almost cheerful. Have a good day. Nia didn't look back. Her phone kept recording, capturing the echoes, the silence, the way the station swallowed her disappointment and kept moving. As she reached the exit, Tessa caught up, breath unsteady. I'm so sorry. Nia stopped, finally letting the shake move through her hands. They took it from me, she said quietly, and they think that's the end. She opened her phone and saved the video, thumb firm on the screen. It's not, she said. The complaint office smelled like old carpet and lemon cleaner, the kind meant to signal order without promising justice. Nia sat in a plastic chair, knees angled inward, phone balanced on her thigh. Across the desk, a middle-aged supervisor in a navy blazer scrolled through a screen, eyes moving faster than his face. Okay, he said finally. So you're saying there was a misunderstanding? No, Nia replied. I'm saying I was targeted, publicly humiliated, and removed from my meeting for something I didn't do. He offered a tight smile. Right, that's your perception. Tessa, seated beside her, leaned forward. She has video. The supervisor glanced at the phone like it might stain the desk. We'll get to that. Nia watched his hands, how easily they moved, clicking boxes, shaping a story that wasn't hers. She had learned this rhythm early. How systems translated harm into inconvenience, urgency into attitude. Let's start with your behavior, he said. Witnesses describe you as agitated. Nia laughed softly, then stopped herself. I was being insulted and recorded, which can be upsetting, he agreed. But escalation is something we try to avoid. I didn't escalate, she said. I stood still. He nodded, already typing. Standing your ground can sometimes be interpreted as confrontational. Tessa stared at him. Are you serious? He didn't look up. We're just documenting. Nia leaned forward. Document this. He told me to learn my place. The supervisor paused. That's a serious allegation. It's on video. We'll need to review that, he said, carefully neutral. In the meantime, we'll note that you felt uncomfortable. Felt, past tense. Finished. Nia's jaw tightened. I still feel uncomfortable. He smiled again. Understandable. She slid her phone across the desk. Play it. He hesitated, then tapped the screen. The audio crackled. Crowd noise, the guard's voice, the stranger's calm certainty. Nia watched the supervisor's face as the words landed. Tell your kind to learn your place. His mouth flattened. That language isn't appropriate. No, Nia said. It's not. He cleared his throat. However, context matters. Context. Tessa snapped. What context makes that okay? He raised a hand. Let's stay professional. Nia inhaled slowly. She could feel the weight of every moment she chose not to scream. What happens now? We filed a report, he said. Security will conduct an internal review. How long? 30 to 60 days. And my missed meeting? Nia asked. He shrugged. That's outside our jurisdiction. Of course it was. When they left the office, Nia felt hollowed out. The hallway lights buzzed faintly, like a warning she couldn't quite translate. Outside, Tessa exhaled hard. They rewrote it. They always do, Nia said. They sat on the station steps, traffic hissing by. Nia pulled up the complaint summary the supervisor had emailed before she even reached the door. Agitated, uncooperative, alleged slur. They made him sound concerned, Tessa said, scrolling, like he was protecting people. Nia closed her eyes. And me? Like a problem that resolved itself. Nia let her head fall back against the stone. The sky above the station was gray, undecided. Post it, Tessa said gently. Let people see. Nia didn't answer. She thought of comment sections she'd scroll past at midnight. Women like her reduced to screenshots and opinions, their lives flattened into debates. She thought of her landlord's last email, of donors who liked her work but hated controversy. I can't lose everything, she said. Tessa's voice softened. You're already losing pieces. That night, Nia sat on the edge of her bed, phone glowing. She watched the video again, this time with the sound low. Without audio, it was worse. The way bodies arrange themselves around power, the guard's angle, the stranger's ease. She noticed things she'd missed before. A man in a suit watching, then turning away. The flicker of Ms. Delgado's hesitation. The moment the crowd decided silence was safer. Her phone buzzed. A number she didn't recognize. This is the civil rights intake line. A calm voice said when she answered. We receive a referral. Nia straightened. From who? A community member. The woman said. She shared your video. Nia's stomach dropped. It's already out? Not publicly, the woman reassured. She asked for guidance first. Relief and fear tangled in her chest. What do I do? Document everything, the woman said. Request records. Keep timelines. And decide carefully when to go public. Will it matter? Nia asked. There was a pause. It can, the woman said honestly, but it costs. After the call, Nia opened her laptop and began a timeline. Timestamps, names, words exactly as spoken. She attached screenshots. She saved backups. This, she realized, was a work they never taught you. How to turn pain into proof. Her email pinged. A message from a partner organization she'd hoped to pitch next month. We're concerned about optics. Maybe take some time before proceeding. Nia stared at the screen until the words blurred. Optics, as if harm were a lighting problem. She closed a laptop and picked up her phone. Her thumb hovered over the video, over the caption box. She didn't write anger. She didn't write accusation. She wrote facts. Then she stopped, breathing through the tremor in her hands, and saved it as a draft. Outside her window, the city moved on, unaware or unwilling. Nia lay back, eyes open, listening to the hum of traffic and the echo of a sentence that refused to fade. Learn your place, she whispered back into the dark, not as defiance, but as a promise. I'm still writing it. The email arrived at 9:12 a.m., subject line neat and almost friendly. Following up on yesterday, Nia read it twice before opening. She already knew who it was from. Graham Whitlock. He didn't introduce himself as a man from the station. He introduced himself as a community stakeholder. Nia, I regret that our brief interaction at Union Station became uncomfortable. I believe misunderstandings are best resolved privately and professionally. I hope we can clear this up without unnecessary escalation. Her fingers went cold. How did he get your email? Tessa asked over speakerphone. Nia scrolled. He'd CC'd someone she recognized, an arts council liaison she'd met once at a fundraiser. He didn't, Nia said quietly. He got access. She read on. I build a reputation supporting public institutions and community initiatives. Public allegations, especially incomplete ones, can harm many people, not just me. I'd hate for your work to be affected by something that could easily be resolved. Tessa let out a sharp breath. That's a threat. It's polite, Nia said. That's what makes it worse. She stared at the screen, hearing his voice layered over the words. People forget. The email was careful, legal adjacent without crossing a line. No denial, no apology, just pressure wrapped in civility. Her phone buzzed again, this time from her landlord. Reminder, rent past due. Please advise by end of day. Nia closed her eyes. The timing felt surgical. She forwarded Graham's email to Renee Lawson, the civil rights attorney who called the night before. Renee replied within minutes. Don't respond yet. Save everything. This is classic reputation management. Classic, predictable, still effective. At noon, Nia sat across from Ms. Delgado in a glass-walled cafe near the station. The place hummed with low conversation and espresso steam, transparency without safety. I'm really sorry about yesterday, Ms. Delgado said, folding her hands. It got complicated. Nia kept her gaze steady. It didn't have to. Ms. Delgado nodded too quickly. Of course, but once security gets involved, there are protocols. Protocols that cost me my meeting, Nia said. A pause. We can reschedule, Ms. Delgado offered. Next month. Next month, Nia repeated. My program runs now. Ms. Delgado hesitated. I want to be honest with you. Please. There's concern, she said carefully, about attention. The department prefers not to be, how should I put this, under pressure. Nia's jaw tightened. Pressure is what happens when harm goes unanswered. Ms. Delgado glanced at the glass wall, at people who could see but not hear. I'm advising you as someone who wants to help. Keeping things quiet might make this easier. For who? Nia asked. Ms. Delgado didn't answer. When Nia left the cafe, the city felt louder, harsher. She walked past the bus stop mural, bright colors peeling at the edges, and thought of the kids who'd painted it, proud and careful, believing their work would last. At her studio that afternoon, 10 kids crowded around folding tables, arguing over brushes. The noise steadied her. Miss Nia, Jamal called, Can I mix purple with gold? Try it, she said. See what happens. She moved between them, correcting grips, praising choices. For an hour, the world narrowed to color and possibility. Then her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She stepped into the hall to answer. Nia Carter? A man's voice asked. Yes. This is Andrew Klein. I represent Mr. Whitlock. There it was. No more smiles. I'm calling to suggest a path forward, Klein said smoothly. My client feels strongly that this matter should not be litigated in the court of public opinion. Nia leaned against the wall. Your client publicly insulted me. That's your characterization. Klein replied. What I'm proposing is a mutual understanding. No posts, no interviews. We move on. And what do I get? Nia asked. A beat. Closure. She laughed once, bitter. You mean silence? I mean peace, he corrected. Behind her, a kid laughed, high and unguarded. I'm not interested, Nia said. Klein's tone cooled. I caution you to consider the ripple effects. Funding, partnerships. These ecosystems are delicate. Delicate, like dignity only when it belonged to them. I considered them, Nia said. Have a good day. She hung up before he could respond. That evening, Nia sat on her bed with her laptop open. The draft post stared back at her. Facts, dates, a single clip. She thought of Ms. Delgado's careful eyes, of Graham's email, of Andrew Klein's voice, confident she'd choose survival over truth. Her phone buzzed. Another email, this time from the Arts Council liaison. We've been made aware of a potential controversy. Let's pause discussions until things settle. Pause. Delay. Start quietly. Nia closed the laptop. She opened her phone and recorded herself instead. Not for posting. Just for her. They want me quiet, she said into the camera, voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. They want me grateful for being allowed back into rooms I already belong in. She stopped recording. At midnight, she typed, not anger, not spectacle. Just what happened. Who said what? Who stepped back? Who benefited? She attached the video. Her finger hovered. Nia thought of Jamal's purple and gold paint, daring and unafraid. She pressed post. The screen refreshed. A single notification appeared. Then another, and another. Nia set the phone down, heart racing. Not triumph, not fear alone, but the sharp clarity of a door closing behind her. Whatever came next, there was no pretending this hadn't happened. And somewhere across the city, Graham Whitlock's phone began to buzz. Nia awoke to the sound of her phone vibrating itself across the nightstand. She reached for it half asleep, then froze when she saw the screen. 27 missed notifications, 112 new alerts. For voicemails, her post had been up for 6 hours. She sat up slowly, heart thudding, and opened the first notification. Then another, then 10 more. The comments loaded faster than she could read them. I was there. This happens all the time. Thank you for saying something. That man knew exactly what he was doing. Her throat tightened. Then the other side arrived. Why didn't you just walk away? Always playing the race card. Bet she left out the part where she caused trouble. Nia set the phone down, breathing through the heat rising behind her eyes. This was the part she'd feared. The flattening. The way people took a human moment and turned it into an argument they could win. Her phone rang. Tessa's name lit up the screen. You're everywhere, Tessa said without preamble. Local feeds, Twitter, even my aunt's group chat. Nia rubbed her face. Is it bad? It's loud, Tessa said. But people are backing you. A lot of people. As if summoned, Nia's email chimed. Then chimed again. She opened one at random. Good morning, Nia. This is Channel 7 News. We'd love to get your reaction to the video that's circulating. Are you available today? Reaction, not experience, not harm. Another email followed. Our viewers are split. Would you be willing to discuss both perspectives? Both perspectives. She closed it without replying. By noon, her name was trending locally. Someone had clipped the video tighter, adding captions. The stranger's words, learn your place, floated across the screen in bold white text. Nia watched it once, then shut her phone off completely. At the studio, the kids sensed something was different. They looked at her longer, quieter. Miss Nia, Jamal asked, Are you famous? She smiled thinly. No, just loud today. He considered that. My mom says loud people get in trouble. Nia knelt to his level. Sometimes, she said, sometimes loud people make things better. He nodded, unconvinced but listening. When the kids left, Nia turned her phone back on. A direct message waited at the top. Renee Lawson. Media attention can help, but it cuts both ways. If you're in, be intentional. I'm here. Nia called her immediately. They're calling nonstop. Nia said as soon as Renee answered. News. Podcasts. A radio host wants me live on air. Renee sighed softly. They want a moment, not a movement. So what do I do? You choose, Renee said. One outlet, one statement. Facts only. No debating your humanity. Nia swallowed. And him. People like Whitlock rely on storms passing, Renee said. Attention is uncomfortable for them. Accountability is worse. As if on cue, the transit authority released a statement. Nia read it twice, jaw tightening. We value all patrons and are reviewing the incident. At this time, we find no evidence of policy violations. No evidence. As if the video were a rumor. The comments section exploded. Of course they don't. Reviewing themselves again. Then another post surfaced. This one from a civic board Nia recognized. We stand by our colleague Graham Whitlock, a respected community member. Her chest ached. They hadn't even waited. Tessa came by that evening with takeout and grim determination. They're circling, Tessa said, dropping onto the couch. Someone posted your studio address. Nia's stomach dropped. What? I reported it, Tessa said quickly. But still, this is what I meant about costs. Nia stared at the wall. I didn't ask for this. No, Tessa said, but you walked into it with your eyes open. They ate in silence, the hum of traffic filling the space. Later, Nia scrolled again, slower now. She saw patterns. The same phrases repeating. The same doubts dressed up as concern. Then she saw something else. A clip from a morning show. The host leaned forward, eyebrows raised. Some say this is being blown out of proportion, he said. Is this really racism or just a misunderstanding? Nia turned it off before the guest answered. Her phone rang again. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Hello? Nia Carter? A woman's voice asked. This is Alicia Moreno. I'm a reporter, but I'm calling off the record. Nia's shoulders tensed. Okay. I've covered the transit authority before, Alicia said. This isn't the first complaint involving that man. Nia's breath caught. What? Nothing public, Alicia said, but patterns matter. If you're willing to talk, not for a soundbite but for context, I want to listen. Nia closed her eyes. This was different, quieter, slower. Yes, she said, I'll talk. When the call ended, Nia felt something shift. Not relief, not victory. Orientation. She wasn't chasing virality anymore. She was building a record. Her phone buzzed one last time before she set it face down. A text from her landlord. We need to discuss your lease. Nia exhaled, steadying herself. Going viral hadn't fixed anything. It hadn't paid rent. It hadn't erased the look in the guard's eyes or the smile on Graham Whitlock's face. But it had done one thing. It had made forgetting impossible. Nia stood, walked to the window, and looked out at the city, messy, loud, unfinished. Okay, she said aloud to no one. Now we work. The email subject line was short and discouraging. Records request. Nia read it standing in the studio doorway, keys still in her hand. Due to the scope of your request, additional time will be required. Certain footage may be unavailable. Unavailable. Not denied, just softened into absence. She forwarded it to Renee with a single word. Predictable. Renee replied minutes later. They stall when they're nervous. We follow up. In writing. Always. By the end of the week, Nia's calendar was a grid of phone calls and deadlines. Records requests. Housing court notices. Media inquiries she declined or redirected. Her life had narrowed into tasks she never trained for, yet somehow now carried with muscle memory. At night, sleep came in fragments. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard the phrase again, learn your place. But now it arrived dressed as email language, as policy language, as concern. On Thursday, a new message appeared in her inbox. No subject, no signature. He's done this before. Nia stared at the screen. Her pulse quickened. Who is this? She typed. The reply came fast. I work in station administration. I shouldn't be emailing you. But what happened to you wasn't new. Her hands shook as she read on. There were at least 3 complaints tied to him. Same pattern. Security involved. Reports minimized. People told to move on. Nia leaned back against the wall, breath shallow. "Renee," she whispered, already dialing. Renee listened without interrupting. When Nia finished, there was a brief silence. "This is important," Renee said carefully, "but we don't expose them. Not yet. We protect them." "So it's true," Nia said. "They knew." "Yes," Renee replied. "And that changes leverage." They moved fast after that. Renee drafted a narrow request. Specific dates, specific cameras. Harder to dodge. She cited statutes, deadlines, consequences. The Transit Authority responded with a partial release. Grainy footage. No audio. Convenient angles missing. "They want us tired," Nia said, watching the clip loop. "They want you to quit," Renee corrected. "Same goal." Meanwhile, the ripple effects tightened. An email from a nonprofit that sponsored Nia's mural program landed in her inbox late Friday afternoon. "We've decided to pause our partnership until the current situation resolves." Pause again. Always pause. Nia stared at the screen until the letters felt unreal. That partnership paid for paint, for stipends, for bus passes for the kids. She forwarded it to Renee, then shut her laptop with more force than necessary. At the workshop that evening, only 6 kids showed up. 2 parents had texted apologies. "Things are hectic. Maybe next week." Jamal lingered after cleanup. "Miss Nia," he said quietly, "my mom says the station is dangerous now." Nia swallowed. "It's not the building," she said. "It's how people act inside it." He frowned. "Then why don't they fix it?" She smiled sadly. "That's what we're trying to do." That night, Nia sat on her bed surrounded by papers, leases, legal briefs, printed emails with highlighted lines. This was a door with no handle. Once you walked into accountability, there was no simple exit, only forward, pushing against weight. Her phone buzzed. The unknown emailer again. They're nervous about oversight, especially the donations. Nia typed back. "Donation from him?" A pause. Then, "From people like him. He's not the biggest name, just the loudest." Power, she realized, was a single man. It was a mesh, boards, favors, silence. The next morning, Renee called with urgency in her voice. "We've got movement." "Good or bad?" "Both," Renee said. Oversight committee scheduled a preliminary review. Nia sat up. "That's huge." "It is," Renee agreed, "but they'll try to keep it procedural. Dry. You need to be ready." Ready? She thought of how many ways that word had been used against her. "What about housing?" Nia asked quietly. "If I lose the studio..." "I'm working on a referral," Renee said. "It's not guaranteed." Nothing was. Later that day, Alicia Moreno, the reporter, sent over a draft summary. It was careful, context-heavy. It didn't sensationalize. It named patterns without naming the whistleblower. Nia read it slowly, nodding. "This is fair," she wrote back. "Let's proceed." When the article published, it didn't explode like the video had. It moved differently, steadier. Other outlets cited it. Questions replaced hot takes. Then the Transit Authority issued another statement, longer this time. "We take these concerns seriously and are cooperating fully." Cooperating fully. Another phrase that meant nothing until proven. That evening, Tessa came by with wine and a stack of printed comments. "Look at this," she said, spreading them out. People are sharing their own stories. Same place, same treatment. Nia scanned the pages, heart heavy and strangely grounded. She wasn't alone. She'd never been. But solidarity didn't pay rent. Her phone buzzed again. Housing court reminder. Nia closed her eyes, pressing her fingers to her temples. "I can't do all of this," she said aloud. "Yes, you can," Tessa replied softly. "You already are." Nia laughed weakly. "I don't feel powerful." Tessa shook her head. "Power isn't how you feel. It's what they can't undo." Nia looked at the documents, the footage, the growing record. They could delay. They could minimize. They could threaten politely. but they couldn't put the silence back where it had been. And for the first time since the station, Nia felt the shape of something solid beneath her fear. Not certainty, not safety, but direction. The door still had no handle, but it was open. The hearing room smelled like varnish and tension. Rows of polished chairs facing a long table where authority wore suits and practiced concern. Nia sat in the front row, folder on her lap, phone recording audio. Beside her, Renee adjusted her notes. A quiet anchor. Graham Whitlock arrived late, calm as ever. He shook hands with committee members, smiled at reporters, and sat as if he were already a part of the furniture. His confidence made the room tilt. Every clerk, every assistant, seemed to shrink into their scripts. The first witness called was a security supervisor. He read from prepared notes, describing the incident as a patron misunderstanding that was resolved promptly. His voice was neutral, almost soothing, as though the word agitated could erase reality. Did Mr. Whitlock speak to Ms. Carter during the incident? A board member asked. Yes, the supervisor said. He expressed concern for station safety. And the phrase, learn your place, another member asked, eyebrows raised. The supervisor hesitated. I do not recall that exact wording. His eyes flicked toward Graham. Nia's stomach tightened. The room was designed to erase what had happened, to shift focus from her pain to procedural formality. Renee leaned close. Stick to what you remember, Nia. Facts only. Show patterns, not emotion. The board member turned to Nia. Ms. Carter, please describe the incident. She straightened, exhaled, and began. I arrived at Union Station for a scheduled meeting. A man, later identified as Graham Whitlock, publicly accused me of panhandling and began recording me. When I tried to explain I had an appointment, he said, quote, learn your place. Security approached and directed me to step aside. My meeting was missed. I was humiliated, observed by bystanders who chose silence over action. Silence followed. Nia's voice carried in the polished room, clear and unwavering. A board member interjected. Were there any witnesses? Yes, Nia said, flipping through her folder. I documented multiple bystanders, including a young woman who filmed the incident. Her footage corroborates my account. I also filed complaints, requested camera records, and maintained a timeline of communications from Mr. Whitlock and the Trans Authority. Graham's smile didn't waver. All accusations are subjective, he said. I only acted out of concern for public safety. Renee stood. Subjective? A repeated pattern of targeting black women in public spaces is not subjective. It is documented. Internal complaints, whistleblower testimony, and video evidence support Ms. Carter's account. The room stirred. A clerk shifted uneasily, papers rustling. Graham leaned forward. And yet, he said smoothly, I am the only person here who's been questioned about maintaining order. Yes, Renee said, voice measured but firm, because your actions created disorder. The young woman who filmed spoke next. She approached the stand, calm but resolute. I was there, she said. I recorded everything. The patron, Nia Carter, did nothing wrong. She did not provoke or escalate. The man recording her, Graham Whitlock, initiated the interaction. Heads turned. Whispers passed along the rows. The committee had been prepared for Nia's words, but not corroboration from an independent bystander. A board member adjusted glasses. Ms. Moreno's report supports what you're saying? Yes, the young woman said. And additional accounts confirm similar incidents. This is not isolated. Graham's face remained a mask. He scribbled notes furiously. Nia continued. I am not asking for spectacle. I am asking for accountability. Policies that protect patrons, consistent enforcement, and consequences when those policies are ignored or misused to humiliate marginalized individuals. The committee chair leaned forward. And your documentation, emails, videos, reports, are these available? Yes, Nia said, sliding a copy across the table. Everything is time-stamped, everything verified. I am willing to provide full records under oversight. Renee added, this is not just about Ms. Carter. It is about precedent. If public spaces can be weaponized against marginalized communities without consequence, the system remains complicit. The room shifted again. Murmurs, the soft click of pens, the tension of bodies trained to appear neutral but clearly reacting. Graham cleared his throat. I maintain that my conduct was professional, concerned, and appropriate. You maintain, Nia said softly. And yet, 3 other complaints, a whistleblower, and video evidence suggest otherwise. That is not speculation. That is pattern. For a moment, the polished room went still. Bystanders with business cards, committee members, reporters, assistants, could no longer look away. They were now witnesses. They were recorded, noted, and accounted for. The hearings stretched for hours, procedures dragging, cross-questions probing Nia's motives rather than Graham's actions. But she answered each with the same clarity and poise, grounded in records, corroborated facts, and her own unwavering presence. After the final question, the committee chair thanked all participants and adjourned. Outside, the lobby buzzed with activity. Cameras flashed. Reporters whispered. The world felt both smaller and larger. Tessa caught up to Nia as they walked out, linking arms. You were amazing, she said. I can't believe you stayed so calm. Nia shook her head. Calm? I'm exhausted. But calm isn't what wins. Persistence is. Facts. Proof. Endurance. They stopped on the steps, watching the city move around them. People walked past, oblivious to the impact inside the building. But Nia felt it ripple. The committee had seen, the bystanders had testified, and Graham Whitlock had no choice but to respond to the record she had created. I wish it felt like victory, Nia said. It doesn't, Tessa said. Not yet, but it's momentum. That's everything. Nia nodded. She had learned the truth as heavy as it was liberating. Accountability wasn't about immediate applause. It was about showing up, refusing erasure, and insisting the system see you, even when it didn't want to. For the first time since Union Station, she allowed herself a small exhale. The fight was far from over, but she had stepped into the room and demanded to be seen. And that, she realized, was more powerful than any viral video, any tweet, or any polite threat could erase. The steps down to the city were crowded. Nia moved through them, folder in hand, heart steady, knowing the path forward was long but now undeniably hers. The morning light filtered harshly through Nia's studio windows, illuminating paint-splattered floors and half-finished murals. She sat at her desk, coffee in hand, staring at her phone. Overnight, the news cycle had moved fast. Articles, shares, and comment threads dissecting her actions, Graham Whitlock's history, and every imagined slight in between. Her phone buzzed again. An update from Renee. Transit Authority has agreed to preliminary policy revisions. Training modules will be implemented. Graham's conduct is under review. Nia's stomach sank. It sounded like progress. It was progress, and yet it felt fragile. Policy drafts didn't erase humiliation. They didn't make her rent check arrive on time, or repair the tremor in her hands that surfaced every time she passed a uniformed officer or crowded public space. Tessa appeared at the doorway, cautious. You okay? She asked. I'm alive, Nia said almost bitterly, and tired of it. They sat on the floor, leaning against the paint-smeared wall. Silence settled between them for a moment, filled only by the hum of the heater and distant traffic. They're moving, Tessa said finally. That matters. Nia nodded, but the weight of visibility pressed down. Every step forward had come at a cost. Relationships strained, opportunities delayed, and constant vigilance against retaliation. She had learned the truth of being right. Proof alone did not heal. It only exposed more consequences. Her phone pinged again. A reporter from a local station requested an interview. She ignored it. Another email. Her landlord again demanded payment. A reminder that the system worked in layers, each demanding attention, each indifferent to the trauma of those it touched. The mural day loomed. Children from the community center had been planning it for weeks, brushing their sketches and imagining the final colors. Nia needed to be present, calm, patient. She couldn't let the cost of her fight spill over into their experience. She guided the first group of kids as they stretched long rolls of paper across the studio floor. Colors clashed and mingled. Voices rose in joy and frustration. For a few hours, the world narrowed again to creativity, not policy, not threats, not commentary. At lunch, Renee called. "We've got movement on Graham's formal review," she said. "Internal emails, witness testimonies, all lined up. The board is aware." Nia exhaled slowly. "And the public?" "Support is growing. People are seeing patterns now. Pressure is mounting. But what about the backlash?" Nia asked. "I've read the comments, the messages, the whispers. People want me to be small, quiet, grateful. That's why this takes endurance," Renee said. "Visibility doesn't mean safety, but it does mean leverage." Later that afternoon, Nia received another email from Ms. Delgado. The tone was different, less cautious, more apologetic. "Nia, I want to acknowledge that the previous handling of the incident was inadequate. Internal communications have been reviewed, and policy adjustments are underway. Thank you for your patience." Nia stared at the words. Gratitude, acknowledgement, correction, but still insufficient. She typed a measured response, noting the importance of systemic change and accountability, not personal thanks. By evening, Graham's allies began to fracture. Sponsors and board members who once protected him distanced themselves, worried about the public attention and the records being compiled. The balance of influence, once lopsided, began to tip. Yet, Nia could feel the cost in her body. Nights were restless, filled with dreams of being confronted, dismissed, or humiliated. She flinched at sudden movements, imagined judgment in empty spaces. It was an emotional ledger of justice, a tally she hadn't expected to carry so personally. On mural day, she stood in front of the children, watching them work. She spoke to each of them, celebrating choices, encouraging risk, showing pride in their efforts. Every smile, every brushstroke reminded her why she endured the harassment, the emails, the stalled meetings. When the first section of the mural was rolled into place, Nia stepped back. Bright colors stretched across paper. A cityscape alive with movement, energy, and hope. The kids cheered. She clapped with them, feeling the weight of all the nights she had cried alone ease, just slightly. Her phone buzzed again. Alicia Moreno, the reporter, reached out. The interview would focus on patterns of harassment, systemic failures, and how Nia's documentation exposed them. She replied with measured enthusiasm. Facts, testimony, evidence, not anger, not revenge, precision. Late that night, Nia sat in the quiet studio. The murals reflected soft light on her walls. She scrolled through messages of support from families, colleagues, and strangers who had seen the pattern. She read stories from others who had faced harassment, who had been silenced, and who now felt seen. The cost of being right was clear. Sleepless nights, fear, uncertainty, and isolation. But the benefit, small but undeniable, was making the system acknowledge reality, even if incrementally. She sent a final email to Renee. Thank you. I see the path forward, though it's heavy. Renee replied simply, that's how change feels. Heavy but necessary. Nia set her phone down, gazing at the mural in the dim light. This wasn't the end. The fight wouldn't be fully over for years. But the first steps, visible, documented, and persistent, had shifted something. Somewhere across the city, Graham Whitlock sat in his office, reading emails that made him uncomfortable for the first time. Nia didn't rejoice. This wasn't a fantasy of revenge. This was accountability, a slower, harder, more sustainable justice. Nia exhaled, feeling exhaustion and resolve entwined. She had survived exposure, harassment, and institutional inertia. She had endured, and she would continue. The kid's mural waited for more layers, more colors, more vision. And Nia, though bruised and tired, knew she had the strength to guide it. The cost of being right was heavy, but for the first time in months, it felt like it might be worth it. The morning air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of paint and autumn leaves. Union Station, once a place of humiliation for Nia, now felt different, charged, alive, and waiting. Today was the day the first section of the community mural would be unveiled, and Nia's heart pounded with the weight of everything that had led here. The kids were already in place, brushes and rollers in hand. Parents and neighbors leaned against railings, chatting quietly, holding cameras and phones. Reporters hovered at the edges, not for gossip, but to document the unveiling. Nia walked to the front, folder in hand, and paused. She looked at the blank section of the wall, the place where the mural would stretch across pillars and arches, a testament to creativity, resilience, and visibility. Her phone buzzed. Renee's name lit the screen. Official notice. Graham Whitlock has resigned from all boards and committees. Formal sanctions issued. Transit Authority policy revisions implemented with oversight. Nia exhaled slowly. Not revenge. Not victory in the sensational sense. Accountability. Real, enforceable consequences. She turned to Tessa. "It's done," she said quietly. "For now," Tessa said. "The system will keep testing you." "I know," Nia replied. She straightened her shoulders. "But this is enough for today." The crowd hushed as Nia stepped to the center. She raised her hands, signaling the kids. Brushes dipped into vibrant pools of paint, and together they began rolling, layering, and blending. A reporter asked for a statement. Nia hesitated for only a moment before responding. "This mural is about more than art," she said. "It's about claiming spaces that have tried to silence us, about visibility, about holding systems accountable, without losing our humanity. We are here. We are present. And our voices, like these colors, will not be ignored." The cameras clicked. Flashbulbs popped. The moment felt suspended. As the final strokes were added, Nia stepped back. The mural stretched across the wall. A city alive with color, movement, and life. Children's faces reflected pride, curiosity, and ownership. Parents cheered softly, aware of the significance beyond paint and paper. A local official approached, speaking quietly. "Ms. Carter, your program, it's inspiring. You've done something remarkable here." Nia nodded, polite but weary. "It's about the kids. It's never been about me." Behind the officials, a small group of reporters whispered, exchanging notes. Graham Whitlock's absence was noted. His office had been cleared. Sponsors had withdrawn support. Oversight was real. The ripple of accountability spread quietly, methodically. Tessa pulled Nia aside. "You did it. Not just a mural, but everything." You held them accountable and kept moving forward. Nia shook her head. "It doesn't feel like a win. Not really. The cost, the nights I couldn't sleep, the missed meetings, the threats, the doubt, it all counts. You can't erase that." "No," Tess agreed. "But you showed that persistence, truth, and courage create change. That's not nothing." Nia looked at the mural again, tracing the lines of the buildings, the children reaching toward a painted sun, the vibrant streets flowing into each other. It was a map of resilience, a public witness to struggle and creativity intertwined. She pulled her phone from her pocket. Notifications had piled up overnight. Emails from supporters, messages from parents, messages from kids who couldn't attend but wanted to contribute. Each note carried gratitude, validation, and recognition. Her hand hovered over the screen. A text from Renee. "Remember, change is slow, incremental, but you've shifted the arc. You've made people accountable." Nia smiled faintly. "Incremental," she muttered. "That's the word for it." The crowd gathered closer as Nia prepared to speak again. Cameras focused. Reporters leaned in. Parents nudged children forward. "This mural," Nia began, voice steady, "is about claiming space. It's about showing that public spaces, like public discourse, are for everyone. That silence is no longer an option when harm occurs. We are here. We matter. And we will continue to create, to document, and to demand accountability." The applause was immediate and heartfelt. It wasn't just for the mural. It was for her endurance, her documentation, and the very act of refusing to disappear. Later, Nia watched the kids walk home, brushes and paint smudged on hands and sleeves. She felt exhaustion settling into her bones, deep and real, but it was tempered by quiet satisfaction. The fight had taken much, but it had yielded something undeniable. Proof that persistence could carve space for justice, even if imperfect and incomplete. She walked through the station alone for a moment, past polished floors and echoes of footsteps. The memory of the man, the guard, the whispered threats, and the phrase, "Learn your place," lingered, but it no longer paralyzed her. Each step she took was measured, deliberate, claiming the space she had been denied. By the mural, she met Alicia Moreno, the reporter. "You've done something remarkable," Alicia said. "Not just here, but everywhere this will be seen. I didn't do it for visibility, Nia replied. I did it because it mattered. Visibility is a side effect. As evening settled over the city, the mural glowed under the station lights. Children's laughter echoed faintly, mingling with distant train announcements. Nia stood beneath it, taking it all in: color, energy, resilience, accountability. The fight had cost her sleep, peace, and certainty, but it had created a record, a public witness, and a space reclaimed. Graham Whitlock was gone from positions of influence. Oversight ensured policy enforcement, and Nia's community had a permanent symbol of presence and resistance. Nia exhaled long and steady. The weight of justice, slow and measured, settled over her shoulders. It wasn't a fantasy of revenge. It was a testament to persistence, truth, and accountability. The mural would fade, the colors would age, the kids would grow. But the lesson endured. She had survived, documented, and reclaimed her power. And in that moment, beneath the painted cityscape, Nia Carter felt it, a quiet, hard-earned victory. The station hummed around her, indifferent, bustling, alive. But for the first time since that day of humiliation, Nia belonged here, fully, unapologetically, and with the knowledge that she and the children who had followed her could create spaces they refused to be erased from. The morning sun cut through the station's high windows, casting long beams across the freshly painted mural. Nia stood a few feet back, hands crossed, taking the culmination of months of struggle, strategy, and endurance. The children's vibrant artwork stretched across the walls, streets and buildings alive with color, neighborhoods imagined with care, and figures reaching toward a sun painted in bold, impossible gold. The crowd gathered slowly, parents clutching phones and cameras, neighbors craning their necks, local reporters scribbling notes, and city officials in neatly pressed suits, clipboard in hand. There was a tension in the air, expectation, acknowledgement, and history all mingled together. Nia's phone buzzed with a single alert. She picked it up. A message from Renee. Graham Whitlock has resigned from all boards. Transit authority policies are now enforceable with oversight. Your documentation led to tangible accountability. Nia exhaled slowly. It wasn't a celebratory victory. It wasn't revenge. It was recognition of truth and the systemic change she had forced through persistence. Tessa stepped up beside her, eyes bright with pride. "It's happening," she said softly. "You made them accountable." Nia nodded, but the exhaustion weighed heavy. Months of missed meetings, late-night calls, stalled paperwork, and harassment had left their mark. She had learned that standing up for justice carried costs, personal, emotional, professional. Yet seeing the mural, alive with children's energy and creativity, reminded her why she endured. A small hush fell over the crowd as Nia stepped forward. She raised her hands to quiet the murmurs. "This mural is more than art," she began, voice steady. Carrying through the station, it is a declaration, a statement that public spaces, like public discourse, belong to all of us. That silence is no longer an option when harm occurs. We are here, we are seen, and our voices would not be erased. The children, holding paintbrushes and rollers, looked up at her, faces smudged with color, eyes wide with excitement and curiosity. Parents smiled, some quietly wiping away tears. A reporter approached with a microphone. "Ms. Carter, can you speak on the broader impact of this project?" Nia's gaze swept the room. "The impact isn't mine alone. It belongs to the children who imagined the city, to the bystanders who refused silence, to the community who demanded accountability. It's proof that persistence, documentation, and truth can create change, even when the system seems indifferent." The cameras clicked and flashed, but Nia did not flinch. This visibility was intentional, strategic, not for ego, not for spectacle, but to hold the powerful accountable and provide precedent for others who might face the same erasure. After her remarks, Nia moved among the children, checking brushes, praising lines, and encouraging bold choices. The mural's first section was now fully visible, a dynamic tableau of community and presence. A city official stepped forward, extending a hand. "Ms. Carter, your leadership and dedication are remarkable. You've created something lasting, both in art and in accountability." Nia nodded, polite, but tempered by experience. "This is the children's work," she said. "I merely guided it." Tessa leaned in and documented it. That's why it matters. Throughout the afternoon, parents and children wandered around the mural, pointing out their favorite sections. Cameras captured angles of every stroke, every detail. For the first time in months, Nia allowed herself to feel a small measure of relief. She had survived harassment, threats, and the endless bureaucracy of being silenced, and she had created something indelible in response. Her phone buzzed again. A message from Alicia Moreno, the reporter. "Your story is inspiring. Patterns of harassment are being documented nationwide. Thanks to your courage." Nia read it slowly. "Patterns," she murmured. "Not just Graham Whitlock. Not just the transit authority. Systems. People. Power. Visibility. Accountability." The station's echoing footsteps reminded her of the first day she had been targeted here. The memory of the guard stepping toward her, not him. The stranger's smirk. The whispered, "Learn your place." All of it now contrasted sharply with the mural behind her. Later, in the quiet hours after the unveiling, Nia stood alone beneath the painted cityscape, the vibrant colors reflected in her eyes, the layers of paint a testament to persistence. She thought of every night spent awake, documenting emails, phone calls, and forms, every instance of feeling powerless, every moment of fear and doubt. And yet here it was, tangible, public, and undeniable. The fight had cost her sleep, stability, and peace of mind. It had required navigating threats, harassment, and betrayal. But the cost had yielded change, real, enforceable, visible. Graham Whitlock's influence had been curtailed. Policies were revised. Oversight existed. The children and community had reclaimed a space once tainted by intimidation. Nia exhaled, slow and steady. The city hummed around her. Announcements, footsteps, distant chatter. She had survived, documented, and persisted. She had turned humiliation into action, visibility into accountability, fear into resilience. The mural, the kids, the community, and the record she had built stood as proof. Power could be reclaimed. And it didn't require shouting or spectacle. It required endurance, clarity, and courage. Standing beneath the mural, Nia allowed herself a quiet smile. She had stepped into the room, refused to be erased, and guided others to do the same. The battle had been exhausting, but the transformation it created was permanent. She knew the system would continue to test her. There would always be new barriers, new voices trying to silence. But today, beneath the painted city and the children's laughter echoing in the station, she belonged fully. She was visible, documented, and unstoppable. For the first time since that day of public humiliation, Nia Carter felt it. Not triumph, not revenge, but the hard-earned, unshakable certainty of her own power.